Welcome, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show CRMKonvos, and we have the cool, good-looking, and extremely knowledgeable David Myron with us.
No pressure, David.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Even that he took off the jacket because he wanted to look as relaxed as we sometimes try to look. He is the only one who has his senses together in the meaning that he is not ill yet.
No.
So the rest of us might keep themselves a bit in the background. Saying this, the typical Ralph is still talking, but I am so curious to learn about contact center as a service solution, how AI is helping or adding sense, and what David can help us here as an expert and as a knowledgeable industry analyst, what we can learn on that side. David, welcome to our place. I'm happy to have you. And curious.
Eager. We should probably introduce David as more than just a name. Would you like to tell the audience about who you are, or shall I fawn over you for a couple of minutes explaining how good you are at this stuff?
Oh, please do. No. Thank you for that. First of all, I hope that all three of you feel better. I understand we're all under the weather, and I will try to do my best to drive the conversation forward as much as possible for you.
Too bad.
So a bit about me. I started in the CRM market back in early 2000s. I started at PC Magazine's IT Insider series covering CRM magazine and covering CRM and mobile technology. And then not long after that, CRM Magazine came calling and brought me on as a senior editor to cover customer service and support. I later became the publication's editor-in-chief and editorial director, a position I held for over a decade. I brought on Marshall, who I've worked with back at Home Office Computing, Small Business Computing Magazine. And so actually, Marshall and I go way back. But while I was at CRM Magazine, the company that Marshall and I worked for, Information Today Inc., acquired a publication called Speech Technology Magazine, and the CEO thought it would be wise to have me run both publications. So as if I wasn't doing enough with CRM Magazine, I was also the editorial director of Speech Technology Magazine. And as if that wasn't enough, I started smartcustomerservice.com, digital publication focusing on the contact center industry. While I was running all three of those publications, I was also the conference program director for all three publications' events. So I was pretty busy for over a decade.
Ridiculously busy is the term I often used. I don't know how you found time to sleep and get married and stuff like that.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. There were times where I actually especially during conference season, physically got sick every year just because it took such a toll on my body. But thank you for that. So from there, I decided to take a position at Gartner, thinking I would also contribute to the CRM space. But they had better plans for me. They put me in cybersecurity. So I spent a few years there in cybersecurity, and that started around 2016, and then up until about a little over a year ago, 2021, I saw an opportunity to get back into the CRM, CX, customer service space, and so that opportunity was at Omdia, which is where I am today. So that's it in a nutshell.
Smart move. Being with Checkpoint for some years, security can get a bit tricky, and it's not as sexy as CRM. We have real humans to talk to and humans in the loop, and a lot of things you can do with technology, just not hitting on stupid viruses, on attacks and all this. So it can be more peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I would agree with that. Smart, also friendly group of people in here. I was happy to get back to the industry and rekindle relationships I've had with so many people that I've developed over the years. So yeah, and it's a great time to be back. When I left in 2016, AI was just making the headlines. We were struggling to find really good use cases of AI in the CRM space. But when I came back, wow, I couldn't believe it. Use cases are all over the place. So just a really fun time to be back.
Cool. Such a fairy godmother which just came along and made your day a perfect day when you restarted coming back to the CRM places and the fairground and all these interesting aspects to look at, such as how AI is working magic also in the contact center as a service. Could you help us a bit to understand, for me as being not as clever, what are the pieces which build a workforce management?
Sure. So workforce management is largely centered around forecasting and scheduling.
Thank you, Mitch.
It,
I didn't want to be the one
that
to
just
say
needed
it.
to be said.
right. What is it? Was it LL Cool J said, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Yeah, so WFM largely focuses on scheduling and forecasting. This became a really big deal right around 2020 when contact centers were forced to send agents home. Omdia estimates that about 75% of contact centers had to send their agents home, or actually 75% of agents were actually sent home. So
Sent
scheduling,
home, just from my slow mind, it's sort of fried today. Sent home means sent working from home.
yes, not
Okay.
not laid off, correct? Yeah, they had to work from home, correct? So what that
Were
meant
they,
was, yeah,
question, were they capable to do this, or did they have to buy some technology? Because contact center as a service is a key differentiator to the classical client server stuff.
right. So what we found were a lot of centers were not ready for this. A lot of centers
Ouch.
were still heavily invested in their legacy on-premises systems, which did not allow them to set up work from home or at-home desktops and environments for their agents. So they had to quickly invest in a cloud solution to do that. So they did, and you know the unfortunate thing is that the centers that were not prepared actually had to go dark for as long as it took them to get up and running in the cloud. Now, the good thing about that is, while it's bad to go dark, the good thing is that they were able to get reestablished in just a matter of a few days to a week. So while it was hugely disruptive, the fact that the cloud was able to get them up and running in such a short amount of time was a big win and eye opener for many of those disbelievers. So the cloud served a huge purpose for them, and they remained committed to the cloud and are still heavily investing in the cloud as a result.
So they saw it as a fresh start.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. It became a fresh start for them, and CCaaS, as a result, exploded. So things like workforce management tools that allow contact center managers to schedule and forecast their agents' time was a big deal. what they were also able to do, and what they realized was, oh wow, so not only can I allow my agents to work from home, but because the technology allows agents to work from home, they really can work from anywhere, which also means I can hire anyone from anywhere at any time, and give them access to the corporate network, give them access to the applications that they need. So that enabled contact centers to hire different kinds of employees. So they could hire full-time workers from anywhere that didn't have to be geographically located or near a physical contact center. Maybe they could hire people who were in an area that was more affordable, that didn't require such a high salary. Maybe they could hire people who were students who only wanted to work a part-time job, or a stay-at-home mom, or a semi-retired professional. So it opened up a lot of opportunities for contact center managers to really explore the different kinds of employees they could hire. So people with various talents, skill sets, all became from all over the world or larger geographical areas, became available to them.
If you're saying they started to increasingly or to more hire students or stay-at-home moms or generally people from home, this to me sounds like they were in need of more, no, not were in need, wanted, accepted less trained people, which of course has an impact on what the outcome of a session with the customer is. How did they go into educating, training, and supporting them to get the necessary knowledge then?
Well, that's also where CCaaS comes in, because one of the components of CCaaS is e-learning. So you could have, now what contact center managers could do is look for people who have experience as an agent in the past, but they could also look for people with transferable skills. So if you have customer facing experience in a retail job, that could be applicable. If you worked, if you're a recent college grad and you worked in an enterprise, maybe you had some marketing skills and understand certain aspects of marketing programs. Maybe that would be a skill set that would be applicable if you worked in an insurance company or any sort of customer facing role. It enabled contact center managers to look for that. If you have a good personality, if you work well under pressure, all these things now boil up to the surface and give contact center managers an opportunity to consider different kinds of employees.
And then there's the mental health state of people who all of a sudden do not have people to immediately interact with anymore. In how far does CCaaS support there as well?
Yeah, so by the mental health state, you're asking what exactly?
Mental health state in terms of losing interaction, getting into a feeling of being isolated because there is no real interaction with coworkers anymore, because you just can't turn right or turn left and have a chat with the person next cubicle.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That could launch us a whole other discussion around the whole Great Resignation, why that happened. I believe that there are conflicting views on from management on exactly that. Some feel that agents want to work the flexibility of working from home. Others feel that, as you pointed out, the camaraderie, the culture that's built inside of a contact center, the ability of a manager to just take a look at their agents and just and make certain observations that you can't make when an agent works from home. So maybe I notice as a manager that an agent seems particularly happy this morning, and I might want to find out why, and that helps me connect with that agent. Or I could also conversely notice that an agent is looking a little sad, and if it's appropriate, I can ask about that. Or if an agent is dragging his or her feet, I can make that observation in a physical contact center. It's harder to make those observations when an agent works from home. So that interaction is lost And Thomas, to your point, the ability for agents to observe those things about their peers sitting next to them is lost. The ability for an agent to tap another agent on the shoulder for any questions is lost.
Genau.
But that's where digital tools have to really step up. And that's where digital tools have to enable more communication through Teams collaboration, perhaps through presence technology. And that's where a lot of companies have also been looking to invest in. Some of the research we've shown is that organizations are looking to invest in not only the ability to help train their agents, but the mental health of their agents and employees across the enterprise. Because working from home, while it has its benefits, certainly there's an isolation issue to have to deal with, right? If you're feeling like you can't get out and you're not connecting with people the way you used to, whatever social aspects you had on the job could be lost. And so I think that also contributes to the Great Resignation, right? So it would be a lot easier for someone to leave a job if they feel that culture is lost, if they feel that they're not connected with their peers or their bosses as they once were. So there's a lot really to unpack there for sure.
Yeah, I guess if your job just becomes a computer and a telephone and there are no people involved in it, what's holding you other than the paycheck?
Right, exactly. And the contact center industry, as we all know, has had high attrition rates. So when you now force people to work from home, you're giving them the flexibility, but if you're not paying attention to their needs as an employee, you'll pay for it. And so one thing that has happened that I think was a kind of a nice change over the past 5 years is workforce optimization has taken on a new name and become workforce engagement management. And the reason for this is exactly what we were talking about, which is more of a focus on the agent, recognizing that we should focus on the customer, but we can't ignore the agent. And to use the word optimization is like, in technology that's supposed to manage another person, it's kind of insulting. It's like saying to a spouse, I'd like to optimize you, and it has a bad look to it, a bad sound to it. So workforce engagement management has surfaced as a new acronym for the space. A lot of the vendors have glommed onto it and made it their own and are renaming their solutions workforce engagement management as well. Something else to consider too, while we're on the topic, and also contributing to the Great Resignation, is when you have agents. Being an agent can absolutely be a difficult job. You're dealing with angry customers, sometimes hostile customers, and now you take the agent, you put that agent in the home environment, an environment where they're supposed to feel safe and comfortable. They're getting yelled at and screamed at by people in their own home where they're supposed to feel safe and comfortable. And it can put a bad taste in their mouth. It could make it difficult for them to separate the emotional struggles or problems that they're having with work from their home life. So that could also be contributing to the Great Resignation. So it's really important for enterprises, contact center managers, to focus on the agent. And so I think that move to rename workforce optimization to workforce engagement management is a good one. But they also need to leverage the technologies that are available to them to pay attention to the agent. So one example is we talk about sentiment analysis as applied to the customer. What about sentiment analysis as applied to the agent, right? The technology is there. If I can tell how the customer is feeling, then I can also tell how the agent is feeling. And, as a manager, what can I do with that information? Maybe I should give them a much deserved mental health break for a minute or two. Yes.
Are they trained to do so? We had the observation that a lot of the management people are as caught in the act of getting surprised by COVID, and the no longer just put a hand on the shoulder to make him quiet or calm him down. Now they have to do this remote. They have to stabilize them. They were not trained to get in that situation. And now they lose control about their sheeps as being the lead shepherd dog. And what is your observation? How did they manage? And had they had the e-learning for managers as well as for the agents?
Yeah, so this is more of the human element, right? You, as a manager, if you have the tools to listen in, and you discover that in a conversation, you could set up a trigger or an alert that could trigger you to high decibel levels on a phone call, which might suggest that someone is yelling. You could set up triggers for curse words that might show a little bit of hostility. And in those cases, you can listen in, and if they're there, and you can verify that either the agent or the customer was upset, you can jump in after the call and say, hey, take a 1 or 2 minute break. There's actually technology that can automate that. Genesis.
Chaka.
Yeah.
Right on spot, such as from frustration and resignation to spirit positive. How did we overcome?
Yeah. So Genesis actually has a solution that they're offering that spots exactly that and automates this whole process where you can after the agent hangs up, just creates this sort of Zen-like moment where the no more calls will be sent to the agent, and this image comes up on the screen of just this relaxing imagery, just to give the agent some time to relax, to cool off. And they've actually noticed a significant increase in productivity, and they have some really interesting ROI numbers that I don't have in front of me, but that really show that this makes the agents more productive. Even taking them away from their work for a minute or two actually makes them more productive, because after the minute or two is up, they're better able to re-engage.
Cool. Are there pictures of kittens?
There could be, I suppose.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense what you're saying. There's a reason we have breaks in the first place. Humans are not made to go, one after the other for 8 hours. We need to refresh our brains, especially after a difficult call.
Yeah, for sure. So that's I'm happy to see that development, and others. I think organizations are looking to technology to help find these areas where it can jump in and help out. So because Ralph, as you pointed out, sometimes managers just don't know how to do it. They might not be able to do it, and quite frankly, you can't listen in to every call, right? So automating that process would be very helpful for sure.
The AI could be the friendly listener and helping hand, such as either by giving advice as the machine in the script, or informing the supervisor, this chap, this lady could use a friendly word.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And AI, I think, is being used in early stage adopters for that purpose. But it's also being used elsewhere in the contact center for other reasons to help improve the customer experience, to help assist the agent in many ways. So through agent assist capabilities, to help the customer through automated conversational AI through chats. So AI really, just in the past 3 to 5 years, has come a long way.
So which are the areas where AI contributes most to CCaaS?
So we had a study done earlier in the year, in the first quarter of this year, and we wanted to find out exactly that, where AI is being deployed and what type of success contact centers have had with AI. And we were surprised to find out that social listening and ticketing was the number one area where AI is being deployed in the contact center, with 58% saying that they have currently deployed AI, and 32% saying that they plan to deploy it in the next 18 months. So that's certainly an area where, you know, perhaps it started out in the marketing department as a way to respond to a lot of buzz on social media, or to follow your brand and how it's being talked about on social media. But what these social listening and ticketing systems do is it enables a company to jump into the conversation in a helpful way. And even if you don't have someone who can handle the interaction right away, you could set up an automated response that says something like, you know, we heard you, or we heard your, we saw your complaint, and, you know, someone will help you shortly. And that buys you some time to actually help solve the problem. So if there's, you know, if you can't do anything else, and you can't, let's say, solve the problem right away, you can at least you know, stall the solution for an acceptable amount of time, and at least know that the person on social media knows you're listening and trying to help.
Sometimes that's more important than getting the solution, is just to know that you're being heard.
Yeah, for sure.
That is just encouraging that topic, as if you are going and are devastated enough to go for German railways, point of no return, that is the second best to relieving in German telecom as being a good provider. So these two miracle things, if you go for these obstacles and then you need help because you are in brown liquid you don't like and it's not very nicely to smell, if you are in that situation, then you are positively surprised.
It's shed. He's talking about shed.
Yes, and if you do not, I'm an expert in that one, trust me.
The beep is a little late now.
Okay, that point is exactly where you then have an overwhelming positive reflection here in Germany, because Deutsche Telekom is helping. Telekom hilft is one of their social media entities, and they are knowledgeable, they are fast, they are empathetic, and they are there when you need them at the speed which is nearly like lightning if you compare it to hanging half an hour on the horn and waiting for the sing-song. The next agent will probably go for the loo instead of helping you. Yeah? No, they say something more positive. But the other thing is the German railway system is very helpful in giving you all the information you need to get, who is delayed, why it is delayed, and all that. And fascinating enough, if you ask the conductor about something, he is looking into his smartphone and telling you the same stuff. Yeah. So, miracle.
Yeah.
So, well, that goes right into the meat of what I wanted to follow up as well. So,
yeah.
Where does it help in operational efficiency, and how does it help in operational deficiency? That's good. Efficiency.
Yeah, so
makes it less deficient. See?
Yeah.
Bonus.
Thanks
for
the rescue.
hobby, what is CLTV? Customer lifetime. Okay. Customer lifetime value has nothing to do with TV. Okay.
Well, not necessarily.
Channelless TV.
So So
do you
that's my
think,
cue to
Dave?
jump in as Ralph is coughing up a lung. Thomas's question: where is AI helping organizations from an operational standpoint? So one of the other things we found that caller intent is an area where organizations or contact centers would like AI to help. That is the second most popular area that organizations are investing in, with 49% of contact centers saying that they are investing in caller intent. The problem is that it is not delivering on those hopes. It's actually at the very bottom of the list of where AI adds the most value, with only 44, almost 45% saying that it adds value. And one of the challenges there is that determining intent can be very difficult from a data perspective. You need to train the data, a large amount of data, and it requires a lot of time and attention to do that. So there are some issues there, but with that aside, chatbot is the number 3 spot on the list of where it's being deployed in the contact center, with 47% saying that they are investing in chatbots. And it's doing fairly well, with more than half saying that they are noticing a significant value from chatbots. So that's one way you can sort of help with the contact center operations, by automating the customer engagement in a helpful way, in a way that's adding significant value. It takes time. It gives time back to the agents, who can then work on more complex and even high value clients. So certainly that's certainly one area.
Okay, now
Okay, so
chatbots have a notoriously, sorry, Marshall, have a notoriously bad reputation when it comes to customer satisfaction. So isn't that a bit contradicting? Yes, the agents have a bit more time, or have more time, and yes, the customer service went down quality-wise as well.
Yeah. So while organizations are finding that it is adding value, there's also room for improvement. So one of the ways we tried to get a better understanding of how successful organizations are specifically with their chatbots, and we asked of the percentage of chatbot inquiries that come in, what percentage of them are resolved in the chatbot, and only 40% are actually resolved in the chatbot, which is pretty low. Actually, it's very low. 33% were escalated to a live agent in a chat, and then 27% were escalated to a phone. So there are a variety of reasons for this. It could be that the chatbot is a basic chatbot that just connects to publicly available information, public knowledge bases, doesn't connect to a customer record, so can't provide more specific or customized information. It could be that the training data is just not where it needs to be. It could be the appropriate integrations aren't where they need to be. So there are a variety of reasons. But one of the things that we found is that 55% of organizations only have their chatbots connect to basic task-oriented. Only have basic task-oriented chatbots, whereas less than half, 45%, have data-driven predictive chatbots. So simply investing more in data-driven predictive chatbots, connecting to a customer record, will help in a big way.
Could it also be, as a follow-up, that organizations looked more into efficiency than in consciously endangering, or possibly consciously endangering, their levels of customer satisfaction?
So in other words, you're asking, is it adding significant value simply because it's more efficient?
It's basically efficiency over customer happiness.
Right. Yeah, and that actually is one of my concerns for AI investments, is that a contact center manager might be looking to resolve an issue, but they should also pay attention to the customer sentiment in that experience. So if they're just looking at efficiency numbers, that could be problematic. They should look at sentiment scores. They should also, years ago, I remember that one of the best pieces of advice that contact center analysts and consultants were giving at the time was the most important thing you could have in a contact center, or the most important aspect you could look for when hiring an agent is fill in the blank. And the answer was pretty unanimously empathy. And while AI can fake empathy, it's not a sentient being. It really can't feel empathy. So, so
That will lead
that's
to a follow-up, David.
yeah.
It's
So
The
this
man
is
said
one
it.
of Ralph's
Oh,
and
not yet. Not yet.
my favorites.
yeah, yeah. So for sure that could certainly be an area that that contact center managers should pay attention to, not just focusing on efficiency alone, but also looking at the customer's perspective. Right.
Well, there is also the tricky fact that it is much easier to measure changes in efficiency and optimization than it is to measure customer experience, customer satisfaction. It's a squishier number, I think is what I'm meaning to say. I'm not saying that, you can't measure customer experience. If I were to say that, I would just have to retire. That would be stupid of me. But you're always going to be able to measure efficiency better than you're going to be able to measure sentiment. It's the same reason that contact centers, were always run as cost centers. It's because you can always make them more efficient, but can we make them better outgoing?
Yeah, it's it's interesting. That sort of makes me think of one of the reasons we ask, why AI isn't succeeding in the contact center. And one of the reasons was sort of alluding to what you just said, Marshall, which is that we're not able to tie it to a business value. And if you don't think that customer experience has enough business value, then you're not going to invest in it. Whereas it's a lot easier, to your point, Marshall, to look at efficiency and cost cutting, and you can understand dollars and cents. A lot of people can understand the dollars and cents of it when you save an agent's time, or a customer's time, or the interaction is cut short, is shorter. That makes sense from a dollars and cents perspective, but it sometimes is a harder sell. Right, as you pointed out, Marshall, that it's squishier to say that we need to improve customer experience. It shouldn't be, but sometimes it still is.
Yeah, I should also point out, as I just mentioned in our group chat, I'm probably still holding on to some old contact center prejudices, because I've been reading about it and reporting on it for a very long time. And things have changed, but not as much as I would like them to.
What
so
are those
I do still
prejudices?
default to the old ways.
Yeah.
Right you are, Marshall, right
Yeah.
you are. From my perspective, being an old school contact center manager, and I would have liked to have the technology at my hands for my team at that time to support them better. I had only one chance: leave the room, go for their room, and stay there for 4 to 5 hours a day to make something happen. They were my sales. Yeah, they were my lifeblood. So they needed me for questions, answers, and all that. And technology now is giving a real hand. And then, yes, it is harder to get a customer in a friendly mood telling you, I found that agent fantastic. I have bought, due to his recommendations, 5 articles more, and you made so much more money out of me. Lifetime value, share of wallet. Now, you have to carefully find a way to get this out of the customer in a friendly, smart way.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think that a lot of contact centers, a lot of organizations fall short on. I had an experience years ago, and my wife actually had an experience years ago where she went to I believe it was a Estee Lauder cosmetics counter at a mall, when back in the days when we used to shop in malls, and she had a fantastic experience. She loved the person she was working with, and she just wanted to go to the website and praise this particular person because she really felt she deserved it. And lo and behold, there was no way to do that. You could only lodge a complaint. There was no way to compliment anyone. So, this to me seems like vital information if, especially for the sales team, for the research team, the product the team, the marketing team, anyone who would want good feedback on what they're doing would benefit from this. And so why aren't you able to absorb this information?
Yeah, it's like this person
I'm a
is doing
feedback
it right.
junkie, especially if it's positive feedback. Sorry, Marshall.
Yeah, I was just supporting him. This person's doing it right. Tell them they're doing it right. When you bring more people on, teach them to do it that way. Mm-hmm. It seems basic, but
if it wouldn't be forbidden, just clone her. Yeah. To have some more of that kind, which have the same spirit and the enthusiasm and the expertise. Yeah. I don't need a clerk or somebody who has the label on the face expert and is in helping me with supported reading what's on the package, and he reads me the package what I'm able still to do myself. Blah, nonsense.
Anecdotally speaking, one of my biggest problems with customer experience reporting on a customer service call is they'll say, stay on the line for a brief survey. I will agree to it. Press 1. I'm down for this. And I have a great experience. It's like, gee, thanks. That went really well. No more questions. Thanks. Bye. And I hang up. And about 2 seconds later, I go, oh, shit, I was supposed to take the survey. So someone who is actually kind of motivated to give helpful information, well, it's gone. Okay. The people who are motivated to give a negative review, on the other hand, are more likely to stay on the line, I think. The old wisdom was you're likely to pass on a good review to 3 other people, but a bad review to 9 others. Yeah. Is that the old figure?
Top.
Bad news travels fast and far.
Yeah.
It's even worse. It's 10 times that you share a complaint versus 4 times to the positive messaging. Yeah. And this is one of these top studies from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s, and the 2000s. I collect them. No, it is important that you can show your potential customers, or if you are a lecturer, that you have proof and showing that in a clear way. Yeah.
As Esteban always says, where's the data?
Right.
Yes, dear Esteban.
A little back to your survey or research data.
Yeah.
What surprises me a lot is that deployment and value of things like intelligent knowledge bases and agent assistant is so low. Do you have any explanation for that? Because I do think, especially in terms of efficiency, these are incredibly valuable.
Yeah, so it's you have to look at it in perspective. So intelligent knowledge base, according to our survey, added significant value to 60% of the organizations, and added moderate value to 35% of the organizations. That's still over 95% saying it added value, with 60% saying significant value. Just so it's not at the top of the list, it's somewhere around the middle of the list, but it's still pretty high value. Now, why isn't it adding value goes back to some of the things that we talked about before. It could be that the knowledge base isn't up to date. The business environment has changed, meaning that the data there is old or stale. There could be various integration issues, training data issues. So, but considering all that, 60% adding significant value, that's pretty high, with 95% saying it adds value. I think that's very good.
Well, as compared to nearly 90% seeing significant value in social listening and ticketing, is there probably a skew in the relative perception of what significant is?
So we actually defined significant value in the survey, and moderate value and limited value. So we said significant value means that the machine learning is embedded at the core of the business and is used pervasively. Whereas moderate value is that machine learning infrastructure is set up and contributing on a daily functions. And limited value, where you're just experimenting and exploring in siloed instances. So we tried to define each of those for the respondents, so that the answers should be fairly matched, well matched, and appropriate. So but why you have these differences? I think a lot of it goes down to the complexity of the situation. For each environment.
Can you elaborate on that?
So in knowledge base, you could have hundreds of knowledge articles, and if you're not auditing the knowledge articles on a regular basis, then you're going to have eventually you're going to have stale information that might not help in an automated fashion. Where social listening tends to be, the initial stage is automated, but the follow-up is more. It can be more human engaged. So you might have more humans operate as a fail-safe in a social listening and ticketing environment than you might have in an intelligent knowledge base environment. So there could be less opportunity for a human to come in and help you if the system isn't set up to do that. There's also, and as I mentioned before, caller intent, which was number 2 on the list of where AI is deployed in the contact center. It's way at the bottom of where there's value. And again, it's a data science problem. It's a science and an art problem, right? Because you're trying to understand, use data to understand keywords, intent, sentiment, and when you're trying to do that in a very short amount of time, there's a lot of data that the system needs, and so anytime you introduce complexity, the more complexity you have, the more challenging the problem becomes, and the harder it is to deliver significant value.
Okay, so basically what you are saying is that the easier to solve problems add value faster.
Yeah, I think because AI is still in its early stages, you can't just implement AI, flip a switch, and forget about it. You need to make sure that the data that you're using is trained to meet your needs, your customers' needs. It has to be relevant and add value, and it has to be updated. Absolutely, you can't just set it and forget it when it comes to AI.
Okay, friend Mish had another remark. He thinks that the areas that AI is used are overlooked, or some areas are overlooked. So we have WFO, routing based on contact profiles, AI writing. So is there something going on in these areas?
So WFO uses AI to staff contact center queues.
So is that like circling the wagons when you need to get multiple people
That's
in
the
on a
intelligent
call?
call routing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to. It's in small print too. So routing based on customer profile uses AI writing. How many here use Grammarly? I'm not sure if I understand the question here. Is it that Mitch certainly chime in, but is it around AI being used more so in workforce optimization, and where is it being used in workforce optimization?
That's
If
how I
that's the
would
case,
interpret it.
yeah.
But
So if that's the case, what we're also noticing is that in workforce optimization, the two biggest areas where contact centers are investing is WFM and call recording. And if I were to look at the numbers based on the survey that we just talked about, call and speech analytics for quality monitoring, customer satisfaction, and training added value, significant value, to 63% of the companies surveyed. So this is now they didn't specify whether this was adding value in terms of the kind of historical analysis or real-time analysis, but they were saying that it added value. So what we're seeing based on conversations we're having is that organizations are starting with historical analysis. So they can use AI to learn more about what's being said and what's not being said in the contact center. So for example, from a compliance perspective, if you have to say certain things or not say certain things, it used to be that you could just do a keyword search for things that were said. Well, you can now, some solutions can use AI to find out what's not being said. And then, of course, the hot, sexy area is real-time agent assist. So if an agent is on the call to have something served up to him or her that suggests that this is the next best action for this customer, that is not as popular as historical analysis, but it's getting a lot of interest. It's certainly one of the more sexier use cases for sure.
Yeah. And it helps you if you have cheap labor to get them right to be as helpful as the highly skilled trained ones, which are reluctant to listen to the AI.
Yeah, for sure. The argument there is that you can get agents up trained and up and running a lot faster, and also because they're trained a lot faster and up and running a lot faster. Some are suggesting that will help lower the attrition rate. Right? If an agent feels overwhelmed and doesn't feel like what he or she is doing is good enough, or always seems to be falling short, it's easy in an environment where you're constantly being measured for every single thing that you do to feel like, I'm just failing at this, or I'm sick and tired of being told I'm doing something wrong. And to have an automated system that is not a person tell you or suggest the right path for you no longer feels like you have a finger being wagged in your face. It can be done privately in a way that is not embarrassing or humiliating to an agent. So that all of that could be very beneficial, not only for the company but for the agent as well.
I would imagine, like in a comic strip, that a positive clapping hand on my shoulder is coming out of the screen and says, "Well done, son."
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I see that we're coming up to the top of the hour, but one of the other things I wanted to share with now, since we're already on the topic of AI, so we also asked where AI delivers value what the outcome is in a contact center. And so we found that 53% of contact center executives said that AI enables their company, their contact center, to increase customer retention and satisfaction. 52% stated that AI enables their contact centers to improve understanding of customer needs. And 45% said that it helps reduce routing tasks, enabled employees to focus on more complex inquiries, as we mentioned before. So a lot of real value there. But I don't want to say all of this, and suggest that, hey, AI is a sure thing and that you're going to succeed with it no matter what, because so many other companies are succeeding with it. It really requires a data lead. It requires thoughtful attention to what you're doing with the data, how you're connecting that data, how you're training that data, how you're training your employees. And so there's a lot to consider. And so I would strongly urge anyone thinking about AI to think about a framework for how you're going to use it. Don't just think about it in a siloed instance. Think about how it's going to affect the immediate people, the immediate stakeholders, but think more broadly how it could also be applied.
And focus on the outcome, not the means of achieving it.
Yeah.
So many times we see, here's the new technology, let's see what it does for us.
And
there are many times where changing your own process will fix your problem without needing to apply an AI solution to it. And that's not to take anything away from AI solutions. Sometimes they're the exact right thing, or can be much more efficient or effective.
And I'm wondering why these brilliant makers of such fantastic miracle software are stupid enough to lay off people. I'm getting not very positive on that one.
Because you have to pay people. You don't have to pay an AI. But now we're getting into that crap again.
If you train the people in such a positive way, you make it's like a printer, a money printer institution.
Apparently not.
Yeah, the technology sector has been taking a bit of a beating lately, for sure. We're noticing that a little bit too in our we did a survey of over thousands of executives globally, and their investments in technology are dipping a little bit from year over year, and we're seeing that across large technologies, from consumer tech to B2B tech, as we all know.
You just mentioned, as a last but one question, you just mentioned use frameworks for the implementation. Are there any that are known to work well?
So I think it likely has to be a case-by-case basis, something that's you have to develop either with a consultant or, preferably if you have the expertise in-house, you can do it in-house. But there are even companies that say that they can help you build out that framework. So that's something to consider too. If you don't know where to begin, then definitely please seek advice from either a consultant and or a vendor that can help you build out that framework.
Okay, which leads me to the famous last words. As announced earlier, so you used this empathy thing. So, and Ralph violently agreed. Yeah.
What is this thing called empathy?
What? And you said that it can't really feel. The machine can't really feel, which is something that I can agree to until we know better. But there's this thing with the duck. If it walks like one, looks like one, and sounds like one, it is a duck. Means if it appears to be empathetic, isn't it empathy?
No.
Danke!
Yeah.
No, please elaborate.
Yes.
It does not have a biological central nervous system. Therefore, it is not empathetic. So no.
Okay, good. That one will be snipped out for posterity. So clear, concise answer, nah.
We save it for hundreds of years. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when our machine overlords take over, well, they're going to know about this. So
Yeah, that's all right.
you've lived a good life, David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've lived long enough.
Okay.
Thanks, Heaps. Thank
All
you
right.
very much, David. I enjoyed a lot and I learned a lot. Trust
Oh,
me.
thank you for having me. I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. Well, now that we have your slides, I'm going to crib from them mercilessly for the next couple of years.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. Now, with attribution, of course. But
Oh, thank you.
I should point out that to everyone who isn't on this show, David seriously prepared for this one. I mean,
Yeah.
amazing slides.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of research. I'm shocked, actually,
In
that you actually think we're worth that effort.
Oh, of course I do.
Look at it like that. At least one of the four of us prepared.
lot appreciation in the way of I love people which are knowledgeable, prepared, and have always a cool answer to our sometimes tricky questions. Appreciation.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me here. I had a lot of fun and happy to do it again.
Well, you will.
Thanks
This
a lot
this
to you,
can't
and
be the last
thanks
time.
a lot to everybody in the audience, because we still have an audience.
Yeah.
So see you next week,
All right.
and
All right.
we are going backstage now.
Backstage
Bye.
we go.